What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another Friday night. You want live with the tag team champions. Interactive Sports Talk.
Tag team champions.
Cool. You want to go and tell them what were the tag team champions? Where we're recognized as tag team champions at?
So we are the intergalactic, Milky Way, universal, world, intercontinental, multi-continental, all space and time tag team champions.
What he said. And this is, of course, the Play Color Sports Talk show, where every Friday night we go live 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight, man, we got some NFL stuff to talk about. We've got a little bit of NBA, some rule changes, lots of stuff to talk about. So I think, man, an appropriate place to kind of kick it off tonight is the NFL. We're heading into playoff season, and I know right now this time of year people start kind of trying to figure out what does their team need to do to make it, right? So how you feeling about starting with that, or is there something else you're feeling super passionate about starting with tonight?
Let's get it.
All right. So first up, man, let's look at the NFC here. And this is the situation that we have right now. So there is two teams in the NFC. They have already clinched their playoff spots.
Two teams.
And if in case you're not familiar, it's this team right here and that team right there that my co-host is pointing to on his hat. That's right. As we've been telling y'all for months, we're the ones, y'all the twos. That's how this works. Over here, we got the number one seed in the whole NFC and the whole NFL, Philadelphia Eagles. And the first team to clinch their division, the NFC West champion, San Francisco 49ers. We might be joined by a few teams come Sunday, though. So let's talk about it. So the Minnesota Vikings, currently the number 2 seed. And to quote Booker T, coming for you. I'll leave it at that. They can actually win their division with a win or a tie this week. Or a Detroit loss or tie. So even if Minnesota loses this week, a Detroit loss or tie can still give them the division. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers currently sitting at the 4 seed. 49ers sitting at the 3 seed. Bucs are sitting at the 4 seed. They cannot clinch this week because they are still technically in a battle with the Carolina Panthers, and to a lesser extent the Atlanta Falcons for the NFC South division. The other team over there, not so much. Then we got the wild card. So we actually can clinch our first wild card team this week. And the reason I say we can clinch our first wild card team is this team is still in contention for their division, but the team that they can possibly take that from has already clinched a playoff spot. And that would be the Dallas Cowboys. So, what does it take for Dallas to get into the playoffs? Well, they win, they're in. Pretty simple. Also, they could tie. And as long as the Giants and the Commanders do not tie again, Dallas will get in. A Detroit loss or tie will also get them in, regardless of the outcome of Dallas's game. And a Washington loss would also get them in, regardless of the outcome of their game. So, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're thinking, hey, win and we're in. We're done, right? And then the Commanders and the Giants right now are sitting at the 6 and 7 seeds. They cannot clinch this week no matter the outcome of their games. But also no matter the outcome of their game, thanks to Seattle losing last night, they will stay in the 6 and 7 seeds. They may just flip-flop, but they will stay in those positions regardless of the outcome of the game this weekend. So that's pretty straightforward on the NFC, right?
Well, I'll say
AFC.
the NFC East should well those guys down there further should thank you for what you did to Seattle. You know, we're not worried about that, but
Well,
they may appreciate you for the help.
here's what I'm going to tell those teams. I've already been thanked by a couple of them, and I've had to remind them that depending on how things play out exactly, depending on if we end up in the 2 or the 3 seed, you don't want to be in that 6 or 7 that's opposite of us. Otherwise, we didn't really do you any favors.
Hey man, you got to get in. They're trying to get in. They're worried about
Yeah.
getting in. You know, those teams that aren't in yet, they have to focus on things like what can I do to get in. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Then they have to worry about seeding once they can actually get in.
Yeah. Now, New York, Giants fans, you're welcome. We did for you what you didn't want to do for us. So thank you. Or you're welcome, rather. And Washington, we'll see you next week, Saturday night. Let's roll. Saturday afternoon, excuse me. Alright, so let's flip over and look at the AFC. So, you've got 2 teams that could clinch a spot, because no one's clinched in the AFC yet. So the Bills, they can clinch a playoff spot with a win. That's their most straightforward way in. In the event that they tie and the Chargers lose, they can also get in. Also, if they tie and the Jets lose plus New England loses, or Buffalo ties, the Jets lose, and New England ties, and the Chargers tie. I mean, listen, Buffalo fans, win and you're in. That's what this boils down to. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs actually have 2 different scenarios they're looking at here. They can actually clinch the division with a win. So win, not only are you in, but you win your division. They can also get in with a Chargers loss, or if both the Chiefs and the Chargers tie, they'll actually win the division. Playoffs are a little bit more complicated for them. They all start with Kansas City having a tie, in which case they need the Jets to lose plus New England to lose in one scenario, Miami to lose plus New England to lose, and the Jets to tie in another, and Miami to lose, the Jets to lose, and New England to tie in another. So, again, just like we said with Buffalo, if you're a Kansas City fan, win. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what good teams are supposed to do. You're supposed to go out when you get these opportunities, and you're supposed to punch your ticket.
Absolutely.
That's what the Eagles did. That's what the 49ers did. Now, you got, right now, Baltimore sitting in the 3 seed, Tennessee sitting in the 4. Neither one of those can clinch this week. They are both still battling for their divisions. And currently, the wild card seedings have the Bengals sitting at 5, the Dolphins sitting at 6, and the Patriots sitting at 7. But unlike the NFC, where you've only got maybe 2 teams sitting behind that wild card competing, the AFC is a little bit more crowded. So that wild card race in the AFC, I'm thinking is going to probably come all the way down to week 18. So it should be exciting to kind of watch how that plays out. Any thoughts on the AFC playoffs there, sir?
I mean, the big thing is watch, right? Some teams can clinch with wins. We'll see if they can get that done. I don't think the 5 teams tying scenarios are realistic, but you know, you got to get to the point where you win, you're in. Control your own destiny. I think that's NFC, AFC. You want to control your own destiny. You don't want to be at a place where you need anybody else's help. I'm gonna tell you one thing: when you need somebody else's help, they will let you down, especially in the NFL. And we've seen it all the time. But I will say, in regards to the NFC, New Orleans, just lose, baby. Just lose. I love that top 5 possible first round pick.
Dear New Orleans and Denver, please pull your heads out of your butts. Sign the rest of the NFL. Although
New Orleans doesn't have the possibility to. Andy Dalton's their quarterback, so let's not even pretend.
Well, Russell Wilson is the Broncos quarterback, and he's not even playing this week, so.
But they should be better without him, right? If he's the problem, it should be better without him.
Well, he's not the whole problem. We know what the rest of the problem is.
I don't think he's a third of the problem.
I was gonna say, I give maybe a third. I give maybe a third.
I give about a quarter.
I'm gonna give him a. I'm gonna give him a third only because some of the stories that we've heard, if they're true, this dude like running around calling the audibles using Seattle language and nobody else on the team knows it, stuff like that. That definitely makes you at least a third of the problem. But let's make no mistake about it. Their head coach is most indefinitely the majority of the problem, no matter what. There's no denying that. So, yeah, I mean that's basically how the playoffs are looking right now. But man, we got to talk a little bit about. Oh, and by the way, in case anybody's just curious, if you want a little bit more information about the NFL games coming up this weekend, special edition. Shortly after this show, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, right here on the same channel, playcollegesportstalk.com/live. You can catch NFL Matchup Madness, where we'll be covering every single matchup in the league in a little bit more detail. So tune in for that.
Yes, sir.
But I want to talk real quick, man, about this whole quarterback thing, man. This roughing the passer, right? We've had a couple of conversations about this throughout the season. There's been a couple of egregious ones. I had another one last night. It wasn't as egregious as some of the other ones, don't get me wrong. But the 49ers did have a pick six wiped off the board last night by a rather questionable roughing the passer. And that is not just my opinion as a 49ers fan. I am basing this off of the outrage of players and people who cover the NFL on a regular basis all over Twitter last night. There was a lot of people who felt it was a bogus call. I get wanting to protect the quarterbacks. I do. And I get when you're talking about a 350-pound guy basically belly flopping onto a quarterback and potentially injuring him, right? I get that. But when we start talking about, if you fall even on top of a quarterback, even if it's because you're off balance, right, or anything else, and there's automatically a penalty, that's ridiculous. You're basically throwing flags for guys tackling the quarterback. And now they're talking about wanting to introduce a rule where, they're talking about maybe doing instant replay on these roughing the passers, which, hey, if you're going to actually get the calls right with that, I'm cool with that. But of course, because it's the NFL, they have to go too far with it. And they want to add in the stipulation that if they feel there's an egregious penalty or an egregious roughing the passer, that they can eject people from the game. And of course, my first question that comes up is, how do we know it's egregious? What actually warrants it being egregious? So what are your thoughts on that? I got some other thoughts on that too, but I want to hear what you got to say on this one.
Well, I mean, a couple of different things you have to think about. At least on camera after the game, Joey Bosa did say that he felt like I said Joey Bosa, didn't I? Nick Bosa. He felt like a wrong brother. He said that he didn't have a problem with the penalty because of the way it's being called. So I like the fact that he was very PR, but he still took a shot. So I respect that.
I was gonna say I must have missed the part where he said he didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, he said he didn't have a problem with it because of the way it's being called, and he knew it was going to be called when the play was made. He said that in his interview after the game.
Yeah, he said it was consistent with Yeah.
So he took a shot at the same time while being PR, but it's getting ridiculous. Some are a little bit on the border, so like whatever, but there's been some that are way more egregious than that one.
Yeah,
I think there has to be some rewording of the rule. We have to be able to take into account that 300-pound guys going full speed in one direction don't have the ability to not hit a quarterback. And there has to be areas where you can hit the quarterback and it's not a penalty. There has to be some separation of when it should be a penalty and when it shouldn't. And there are times where guys do it and it's dumb and you know it's going to be called. But there's other times it's like there's nothing else that the person could do. So if you're going to review it, that's what should be being reviewed. If you're going to sit here and tell me that for 1 minute the NFL is going to get the ability to say, "Oh, that's egregious and we should kick players out," leave it like it is. Don't even touch it. Because if y'all get the chance to kick people out, Tom Brady's never going to play any dangerous defensive lineman. They're going to all get kicked out. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. And it's not just Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is the poster boy for the egregious calls. Because they will have him win games. He's won 2 of the games that they've won. They've only won, 6? 2 of those wins they should not have because they were BS calls to stop other teams from being able to get the ball back and score or keep the lead that they had. So if we're going to give the NFL more autonomy, unless they spell out exactly what they're looking for, and they're forced to stick to that, or there's penalties and fines against the people that do these calls wrong, we can't have that. We cannot let an organization that clearly wants certain teams to be better than others or to win in certain situations have the autonomy to say we're going to review a play, and if we feel like it's targeting the person's kicked out, right? No. Or egregious enough, whatever they consider that to be, which I assume they would say targeting or some other BS to be the ones that make those plays. We don't want that. If you're a fan of football, you don't want that. I don't care how much you want the rules to change. I don't care how much you love the quarterbacks. I don't care how much you have certain teams. I don't care about you Bradyites and all those guys. You don't want this. Because you don't want your best lineman to be in the same situation when they're playing another quarterback. We're getting to a point where things are getting out of hand. The review should only be, and again, NFL, only be to determine if it should be a penalty or not. You don't have the autonomy, and the Players Association better not go along with this, or the owners, to say, "Oh, we feel like that's egregious and this person should be kicked out of the game." Heck no. We're not trying to get into that with the NFL. Next thing we know, the NFL is going to be deciding everything. They're going to be trying to decide, "Oh, you hit the lineman too hard and we should be kicked out for that." After a while, they'll try to make this into flag football. So let's draw the line in the sand right here and let's stop it. No, can't do that. Won't do it.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing with it, man. It's like, we already have a lot of questionable calls, right? And I like the idea of saying, "Oh, let's go to a review to make sure in the event that it is a questionable call," right? So maybe somebody gets flagged for helmet-to-helmet contact, but on replay they clearly didn't have helmet-to-helmet contact, right? Like, to me, that's a proper use of replay in the situation. And I'm going to say it like this. I actually, even though I don't like the targeting rule in college football, and I think the whole, like, kicking somebody out for the next game if they do it in the second half versus nothing happens if they do it at the end of the first half, I think that's stupid. But the one thing I will say about college that they get right is they are very clear in the definition of what targeting is. It requires you to lower your head, lead with the crown of the helmet, launch yourself with forcible impact, and make helmet-to-helmet contact, right? That's what targeting is in college football, right? So when they review targeting in college football games, I'm going to say that 99% of the time they get it right. There's always that 1 or 2 times where you're like, that one was kind of close. I think maybe they could have gone the other way with it. But you've never heard anybody complaining about an egregious targeting call that was upheld in college football, right? The NFL, on the other hand, every week it seems like we're complaining about an egregious PI or egregious roughing a passer or something else. And the NFL has already tried to do instant replay on a very subjective thing in pass interference. Unless you have a very clear, defined role of what it is, don't bring it into replay, especially if you're talking about going to potentially kick somebody out of the game. And I will say this, NFL. If you do decide that you're going to potentially kick people out of the game for this, not only do I expect there to be a clear definition of what egregious actually is, not just up to the discretion of the referee if they think it was egregious, but it better take you as long to review these plays as it takes you to determine if something is a freaking catch nowadays.
They do take the time with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, man, there's all these rules now about, you gotta if you establish position and then you take a step, and that's fine. But if you're moving, then you gotta take 3 steps, and if the ball moves a quarter of an inch, and then it's all, do they feel like you kept possession or not? And then you survive the ground, and I mean, whew, boy, if they had all these rules back in the day, man, I don't know if anybody would have had a catch.
Agreed.
So,
Definitely agreed.
so yeah, so that's just, that's my thoughts on that, man. What else you got on that? Anything else, or if not, what else you want? Who you want to go to next, man? What's next on the agenda for the evening?
Whatever you want to go to, man.
Well, I know you had a whole list of things, man. So I'm open. I'm down. Let's do this.
Well, we did have questions
Okay.
from our community. So we did already touch on one of those questions, which was about the, we actually just touched on it, which was about the catch rule.
Yes.
The other question was about who's a bigger threat to the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC. And the two options that were given were the Cowboys and the 49ers. So I'll answer this question first. So the concern for the Cowboys depends on what happens when we play them on Christmas Eve. If we beat them, they're a little bit more of a concern in the playoffs because it's hard to beat a team 3 times in the same season. I think we could do it to the Cowboys, but I mean just off numbers and facts. If we lose to them, they're not a threat at all. Because one thing I can tell you about the Dallas Cowboys, they go 1-1 with you. They treat you like they beat you 10 times in a row, all by 40 points. So if they were to beat us in that game, I would have no concern with playing them in the playoffs. They would get spanked and beat like monkey poo. They would be whooped like a scalded dog. We stomp a moho in them and walk them dry. If we beat them, I think that gives them a little bit more motivation and makes them a slight threat if we were to face them in the playoffs. Now, as far as the San Francisco 49ers, they're in the 3rd quarterback. They're still playing well. They have one of, if not the best defenses in the NFL. They have a very solid running game. They're able to plug guys in, and they still can get production. They are missing Deebo Samuel right now, but it doesn't look like he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. We don't see him in the regular season, so we wouldn't see him to the playoffs, and they would have him back. I think Purdy has done well for them. I think they have a coach who does this crazy thing where he takes the playbook, and he says, this is what this guy is good at. Let's just do that. All the stuff he's not good at, let's just take that crap out because there's no need of having him do things he's not well at. So he's been given a playbook that he can use. Also, he does go up against his defense because he was a scout team quarterback. He goes up against that defense every day in practice. So he plays against a hard defense. He was a 4-year starter in college. So this is not a guy coming in that doesn't have experience, that doesn't know anything about football, that just happened to get drafted. He fell where he fell, whatever the reasons were, but he's played well enough for them. If he continues to play that way, there's not a lot of difference between him and Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion. So I think the 49ers would be more of a threat to the Philadelphia Eagles because they're a team that can shut down the run to an extent. They do have some deficiencies, but that defensive line is very aggressive. But if I'm being 100% truthful, I would say the 49ers are more of a threat. But as an Eagles fan, I'm going to say the biggest threat the Philadelphia Eagles have is our own defensive coordinator. That's our biggest threat.
So I would just point this out real quick about Brock Purdy. I mean, I think that one thing a lot of people overlook that you pointed out is 4-year starter in college. He has the experience. You're not going to throw a whole lot at him that he hasn't seen playing 4 years, right? He understands how to read defenses. It is evident because you don't see rookie quarterbacks get through their progressions the way he has. And that is 100% just from that 4 years of experience. People talked about maybe he's going to struggle when he goes to Seattle, right? No one will argue probably the most hostile environment in the NFL, right? At least on the field. Philly might have had that war if you're in the stands. But he didn't look flustered at all last night. And I think a lot of that comes down to he's played in bowl games in college. He's gone to schools like Oklahoma and played in front of their fans. So he's used to those kind of environments. So the fact that they're not asking him to do a whole lot, they're just every now and then, man, make some plays, right? That's what they're asking him to do, which is basically the same thing they asked Jimmy Garoppolo to do. And I think Brock Purdy has a little bit more of an athleticism to him than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not Trey Lance, but he has a little bit of athleticism to him that Jimmy Garoppolo didn't have. That's allowed him to avoid some pressure, get out of the pocket, make some things happen. Picked up that big conversion last night using his legs. That's something we don't really see Jimmy Garoppolo do very often. So I think there's a lot going for the 49ers there that are kind of negating some of the injuries that they're having. But I think the biggest point you just made there is it comes down to coaching. Kyle Shanahan last night schemed wide receivers open, even without Deebo Samuel out there. Brock Purdy, 62% of his completions were to wide open receivers. Now, we got some talented receivers, okay, but they're not that talented. They ain't winning their one-on-one matchup 62% of the time. That is Kyle Shanahan scheming those guys open. So, to me, when I look at Dallas, let's be honest, man. We've talked about their coaching staff not being that great for a while, right? We're all waiting for Dallas to fall in love with the pass again and go out there and get the brakes beat off of them. Because if they can't run football, they struggle offensively. That's who they are. They're a run-first team. And right now, they seem to be complacent with that. But we've also seen several times where they're not complacent with that. Now, their defense is legitimate. But there's some question marks about their ability to stop the run. And who are the two teams that probably love to run the ball more than anybody else in the entire NFL? The 49ers and the Eagles. So that's why I don't really see Dallas as a threat to either one of these teams, honestly. And that's not a shot at Dallas. I'm not saying that they're garbage or anything like that. I just don't feel like Dallas matches up very well against either one of these teams. So I think the 49ers are the bigger threat by default because it's not Dallas.
Definitely agree. Definitely. Yeah. Long story short, it's definitely the 49ers. Another thing was the new names for the NBA awards.
Yes, I did see something about that. I haven't really looked at them yet, but I did see a little something about that.
One second, I had it pulled up, but my screen's wilding for me. All right, here we go. So, what they did was the NBA renamed their trophies after legends. So the MVP award is now will now be come with the Michael Jordan trophy. The Defensive Player of the Year award will come with the Hakeem Olajuwon trophy, or it's named the Hakeem Olajuwon Defensive Player of the Year award, and the Michael Jordan MVP award. The Rookie of the Year award will be named the Wilt Chamberlain. Will be named after Wilt Chamberlain. You have the John Havlicek Sixth Man of the Year trophy, and then the George Mikan Most Improved Player trophy. They are going to also introduce a new award for Clutch Player of the Year, and that'll be the Jerry West trophy. The trophies were all unveiled on Tuesday. They've been redesigned. Obviously, they have to look like the individuals or similar to the individuals that they're being done after.
Yeah.
So a lot, there's been some talk about Michael Jordan only won 5 MVP awards. Kareem has 6. Olajuwon won Defensive Player of the Year twice. Wallace and Mutombo won it 4 times. And I mean, I think when you talk about like the Defensive Player of the Year award is pretty valid. I mean, when you talk about MVPs, Michael Jordan is one of those people that come to mind. I don't really have a problem if you win either way. You talk about a difference of one MVP award. Um, but it's a way to try to kind of get things moving in the direction of honoring the past of the game, which I don't have a problem with. You want to nitpick the person, but think about the thoughts behind it. You're actually saying we're going to take these awards that's just been Rookie of the Year forever. It's just been MVP, Defensive Player, Six Man, so on and so forth. And we're going to actually name them after players. So we're going to take the legacy of a player and attach it to each individual award. I like the process of where you're going. Like I said, some people may have issues with some of the people that were picked, but where they're going with it, you can't really argue, in my opinion. And I like that they're doing this. What are your thoughts on it, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's something they've already had anyways. So it's not really a departure from what they've done in some other areas. The Finals MVP is the Bill Russell Award. The All-Star MVP is named after Kobe. Eastern Conference MVP is Larry Bird, and the Western Conference MVP Magic Johnson. And then also they have the Social Justice Award, which is Kareem. So you have already all these trophies that have other players' names. So it just made sense that you'd stop having Defensive Player of the Year, right, or Rookie of the Year, or whatever, and actually start giving these awards an actual affiliation with someone. I think it's a great way to honor some of your legends by actually giving them that recognition of having their name attached to something. And like you said, there's always going to be some argument about, this person, should have got it over this person or whatever. And I don't think you're ever going to be able to please every single person no matter what you do. But I will also say this. At some point, you just have to kind of accept it. It's not always going to be the person who wins something the most. I mean, let's just say, as an example, that they came out with a 3-point champion award, right? Well, do we go and name the award after, like, Reggie Miller or somebody right now? And then when he retires, we're going to be like, oh, we're not going to call this the Reggie Miller Award anymore. We're going to change it to Steph Curry Award. So, the thing is, you're picking these names and you're just going to stick with them. So it's not necessarily about, like, down the road who might surpass somebody. It's just about honoring these legends. And if the player that you thought deserved some kind of recognition didn't maybe get it, well, rest assured, the NBA has shown you they have no problem with creating new awards. So you will probably be able to get your favorite player an award at some point.
Oh, that's very true. Very, very true. Another thing we had discussed talking about was Mike Leach. As we know,
Yes.
he had a heart attack earlier in the weekend and passed away.
Yeah.
Mike Leach was a straight shooter. He was offended by the fact that everyone's offended. I loved it. I actually know some people who he recruited when they were in high school. Real stand-up guy. I hate that he went out the way he did. Hate that the team has to deal with that. Condolences definitely go out to his family.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that epitomizes, didn't have scandals, right? I mean, talk a little slick out of the mouth sometimes, but no throwing chairs at kids, no scandals, no cursing, no, misuses of racial slurs, any of that type of thing. Seemed to be a very stand-up individual. Loved his teams, loved the sport of football, and, literally coached until, he died. So, rest in peace, man. I hate to see a guy that was like a Mike Leach. He was never what we would consider like the best coach ever, but he was never what you would consider not one of the best. So I hate to see him go, and all the kids that won't get a chance to be coached by him now. Feel bad for those kids as well, the kids that are on the team now that won't get to further go through that process with him.
Mm-hmm.
My condolences again to the family.
Yeah, and man, the thing is, he was an innovator, right? He had a big impact on college football. and I mean, really just football in general. And because I really do feel like a lot of the things that he didn't just stop at college. A lot of it actually got worked into the NFL as well. And it's a sad loss for football. Really, my heart goes out to his family, to his players, to the other coaches. You know, the coach that they're promoting. He's got some big shoes to step into. So wish him the best of luck in a very difficult situation to step into. I also want to just call out, man, like you said, not a guy who won a ton of games overall, a successful career, but not a guy who won national championships and things like that that we normally kind of do things by. For the impact he had on college football, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I don't know if people notice or not, but the Hall of Fame has a minimum requirement of a 60% win percentage to get into the Hall. He literally missed that mark by 3 games. So I hope that the Hall of Fame for the NCAA does the right thing here and changes that standard or finds some way to make an exception. Because for Mike Leach to not end up in the College Football Hall of Fame because he didn't win 3 more games would be an absolute travesty.
Well said. So we talked about this a little bit last week, but I do want to touch on um, the Brittany Griner situation again, but from a different perspective.
Okay.
So she's now been out, a little bit over a week. Moving back, she's had a chance to kind of get things together. I know she's talking about, her and her wife are talking about moving to a different place, a location where people don't know where they're at. Make some changes just because of how high profile she is right now. A lot of hate going out to her for something out of her control, which was the prisoner swap.
Right.
I wanted to commend her for pointing out that she hopes that Biden and she'll do anything she can to try to help get the other people that are there home. Not just one person, but everyone, the prisoners there home. She wants to be an advocate, for that, to help out with that in any way that she can. Being in this situation, definitely understand it, respect it. I'm glad that she's going that way. But there's another important thing that she's also came out and said today. She is going to be playing this year for the Phoenix Mercury. She hadn't decided when she first got back if she was going to play basketball or not. She is. So we're going to get Brittany Griner back on the court for the Phoenix Mercury. And I think you're going to see a much better team because of that. Because I think that team, if for those of you who don't like WNBA, deal with it. I think that team was really stuck last year with being concerned about her and not really being focused on the court. Diana Taurasi, who a lot of people say is the greatest female basketball player of all time. I don't quite agree with that. There's a lady named Cheryl Miller that was a beast that came a little bit before the WNBA really got going, but it's another story for another day. She's going to come back and play. So they're going to have a lot of their best pieces back, and they'll have that presence of Brittany Griner in the middle. Hopefully this helps to lead her on a path to being more appreciative of government. Right? You have the right to say what you want to, but just kind of correcting some statements that she may have made in the past. I do believe a lot of times we go through things for a reason. Perhaps she needed to be in not necessarily this situation, but a situation where she realized, hey, there is a lot of positives for being an American, and there are times when the country will do what it can for you. So this gives her that opportunity to kind of rewrite the story of her. So some of the comments that she said before that have been sort of controversial came up a lot from a lot of the people that are not fans of hers, we'll say. So I think that this is a great situation. I hope that she uses this platform to do what she said that she's going to do. I hope she is kept safe, because I do understand that there are people who may want to cause harm to her and her family. And also the Marine that's over there, I think the name is Waylon. His family came out and said that basically Donald Trump has no reason to say his name in his mouth because he had the opportunity when he was president to make a swap for him, and he elected not to. So, the fact that that was the situation, he should not be saying his name out of his mouth. He shouldn't be trying to go a certain way or defame Biden for that, and that they appreciate what Biden is doing, and that he's working towards and doing what he can. They're happy that Brittany Griner's back home. They, of course, want their family member back home, as the other families do. But I think we need to stop with the hate on Brittany Griner for it. Brittany Griner didn't call and say, make this trade, please, please, please. Obviously, she wanted to be home just like everybody else, but this was done because it needed to be done, or at least the administration felt like it needed to be done. So let's move forward. Let's do what we can as a country to try to get the other people back. And that's all we really can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations, man, where unfortunately we live in a day and age where people only want to point fingers and they want to try to say things that support their current views versus being open-minded and trying to look at things from a different perspective. So I agree with pretty much everything you just said, and I'm not going to add anything to it because it would be a waste of my breath to try to talk to those people.
That's fair. That is very fair, sir. So I do believe we got a couple of games to make some picks on.
I do believe we do have a few games to make some picks on. Real quick, man, I just wanted to kind of touch on kind of a cool story going on in the NFL right now. This is kind of the season of redemption for some guys, right? So two guys who have been kind of left out, forgotten about in Geno Smith and Jared Goff. Both right now have their teams potentially battling to try to get a playoff spot. One of those I don't think for sure is going to get it after last night. But there's still no denying the fact that they have both had really great seasons. Much better than what people expected from them. These are both guys that, most people had just kind of assumed were done. We're going to see what kind of happens over the remainder of the season here. Baker Mayfield's getting another opportunity to, go out to LA, maybe get a fresh start out there. Maybe another change of scenery is what he needed to kind of get rid of some of the attitude. We'll see. Zach Wilson this week with Mike White not getting cleared to play is going to get another chance to start. So, this will be the chance to see, did he learn anything from his little snafu a few weeks ago? Is he going to be able to grow up a little bit and actually go out there and help lead this team and do what he needs to do? So, some very interesting storylines when it comes to some of these quarterbacks this season. I'm just curious if you had any thoughts in terms of some of those guys.
No, not really. I want to see how things finish out. It's been great so far, but I want to see where we are at when we get to the end of the season. I want to see, if Geno's able to pull out at least close to the playoffs. Jared Goff can get that team anywhere sniffing the playoffs. So I'm just going to take a wait-and-see approach. Another guy that I'd like to have people kind of take a look at is the quarterback in his second year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's playing well, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
He's got a coach that can coach him. So there's definitely some guys to talk about. I just want to see how they finish out the season. And then definitely we'll have some thoughts on them and kind of, where I feel like they rank now. Because I do want to do a ranking, top 20 quarterbacks after the regular season. We're not taking playoffs into account.
Yeah. And just a quick FYI on that for everyone that's tuning in. We will not have a show next week. I'm going to take off for the Christmas weekend there. Enjoy time with the fam. Hopefully everybody else is doing the same. And following Friday when we come back, we'll be doing kind of our year-end review for the year. Also doing a little preview of the big college football games that will be coming up that following day as well. And any, really nice NFL matchups that are going to be happening that weekend as well. And kind of updating the playoff scenarios at that point. So be looking out for that. But with that, man, let's go ahead and jump into these picks.
Let's do it.
All right, so this week we got 3 games on Saturday. So first up, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Minnesota Vikings. I had to do it, man. Come on.
I'm gonna say the Vikings go ahead and clinch the playoffs.
Yeah, the Vikings have been kind of struggling a little bit, but it's mostly been their defense that's really been struggling the most, right? And I don't think the Colts offense is going to give them enough trouble. So I get the Vikings winning this game and clinching their playoff spot. Afternoon game, we got the Ravens at the Browns.
Ravens.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, man. I want to see at what point does Deshaun Watson actually come back and start looking like Deshaun Watson again, right?
Next year.
If he looks good this week, this could be a competitive game. If he doesn't, probably not going to be that competitive. I'm going Baltimore. And then Saturday night, we have the Dolphins, who needed propane heaters in 55-degree weather inside of a dome in California, traveling to Buffalo, where it's going to be freezing cold. But hey, man, Tua wants you to know that it does snow in Alabama. I mean, it's like a half an inch, but it snows.
I'm actually going to be a little crazy here. I'm going to pick the Dolphins. The Dolphins are on the slide. They're needing to keep up. It's going to be difficult to beat Buffalo, but one of the things is Josh Allen takes a lot of risks, and those can be dangerous. I feel as if we're just going to get 1 or 2 more big plays out of that Dolphins offense than we will the Buffalo offense. And obviously Buffalo has the better defense. There's no one that would argue that. But that's just, my thoughts on that.
For me, it's going to come down to the field conditions, right? What I feel is every time, I know I was just, kind of giving the Dolphins a little hard time about the weather, but the thing is, the reality of the situation, every time I've seen Josh Allen play in bad weather, he's not played well. I can't help but to keep going back to that New England game last year, where the wind was like blowing so hard they couldn't even throw the football, and he struggled so much in that game. And the thing about Buffalo is, if they can't throw the ball successfully, if they can't really work that offense through the air, they struggle to run the ball. So the Dolphins, on the other hand, yes, they're built for speed and all that good stuff. Mike McDaniel's bread and butter is the run. And in a game like this, I think he's going to lean on that run game a lot more. I've actually got Miami pulling this one out.
Thought I was going to be alone.
Nope. Now, if this was good weather, I would actually pick Buffalo, but strangely enough, the bad weather is what I'm picking against them. All right, so Sunday, we've got the Falcons at the Saints. You know what? New quarterback in Atlanta this week. Desmond Ridler's going to get his chance. Saints defense is actually good. But this is a tough one. But I'm going to go Atlanta. I'm going to give them the benefit here.
Definitely going to Atlanta. As I said earlier, we still have Dalton as a starting quarterback in New Orleans. And if that's the guy that you're going to ride with, the mistakes that he makes cost you every week. I understand that may be your best option as of now, which means you need to be looking at upgrading that position next year. But yeah, you can't do it in the first round. But Falcons.
All right, then we got the Steelers at the Panthers. Hey, Carolina knows they are right there in contention to win this division, and I think they're going to pull this one off.
I picked against Carolina like 4 weeks, and they won like 2 of them. Yeah, they're at home.
So you're saying you're 50-50 right now?
Yeah, last couple weeks. They're at home. The weather, according to weather reports, it's going to be a little rough on Sunday as far as temperature. Pittsburgh's used to that, but that home stadium field, this is pretty much an even game to me. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to give the Panthers the home field, and we'll go with them.
Okay. Man, I'm not sure who you're going to pick in this one. The Eagles at the Bears.
Actually, I'm going to pick the Bears to lose the game.
Yeah, I
Philadelphia
figured.
Eagles.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, me too. Enough said. Chiefs at the Texans. Yeah, I'm gonna go Chiefs on this one. I think the
Everything
Texans
tells-
actually have the entire team on the bench this week, by the way.
Everything tells me the Texans should have enough to win this game just because you haven't won anything. But there's this concern with getting the number 1 overall pick. And say what you want, 11 L's. Some of those you've given away like last week. So I'm going to go Chiefs.
Yeah. All right, we got the Cowboys who actually struggled against those Texans, going against the suddenly ramping up Jacksonville Jaguars. Can the Jaguars pull the upset?
I'm going to say they can. It's my upset special of the week. I think
Okay.
Jacksonville's going to find a way to win this game. They can run the ball. Lawrence has played well the last few weeks. Several options, not a great one, but you can move the ball around that offense. You can kind of throw to different people. You're not in a position where you have to focus on just one guy, whoever is open, right? Whoever has the best route, whoever can get the best break. So you can kind of play loose offensively. Defensively, the Jacksonville's been solid all year. They actually have done pretty well overall. I mean, you've had stretches where they may have done bad at particular points in a game. But when your offense has you on the field back-to-back early in the season, it's more difficult. Offense is playing better, so the defense is getting more rest, so they're looking better. So I think they have a very good chance to upset the Dallas Cowboys and win this game.
I like what you're laying down, but the fact that Dallas just had a scare, I think helps them. Because if they had gone out there and beat the brakes off the Texans, I would be worried about it being a trap game, right? Them getting even a little too worried about the following week, going against Philadelphia, all the makings of a trap game, right? But I think that since Dallas almost got upset last week, I think they come in a little bit more focused. They're not going to just overlook this opponent, and I think they win.
Well, Michael Parsons is definitely proving your thoughts to be wrong for the whole team. He's more worried about his comments about the Eagles than he is about his comments about his own team or what his own team is doing. So I do think also the trap game is going to go into effect for Dallas because they're so worried to play the Eagles and so ready to pump their chest and talk about how they beat the Eagles and blah, blah, blah. But I want to tell you something. You lose this game, which I think you will, you're going to be 3 games back in the division. The Vikings are already 2 games back of us and 3 with the fact that we beat them head-to-head. So if you lose this game, Dallas, it doesn't really matter if we lose to you. You're not going to win the division. So, you better go out there and win this week and be more worried about that than us. But like I said, Michael Parsons, he already got our name all in his mouth and mind. And most people say that's their best defensive player. So if the best defensive player ain't in the game, it's going to be trouble when you do allow a lot of running yards. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, I don't know if you heard me, man, but the Cowboys are locked in, okay? Don't tell them no different. Don't tell them no different.
Okay. If that's what you want to believe, man.
That's what I would literally believe, man.
And then also you got to remember the Cowboys are at that point in the season where things start to go.
We are getting dangerously close to that time of the season where the Cowboys cycle begins to refresh. All right, moving on. We've got the Lions, winners of 4 of the last 5 games, against a team that's been a little bit up and down, but fighting for a playoff spot in the Jets. Keep in mind the aforementioned Which Zach Wilson will be starting this week.
Yeah. If the Jets had Mike White, I would pick them to win, but I just don't feel like the team's going to respond the same as Zach Wilson. So I'm actually going to pick the Lions with that quarterback issue.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lions also on this one for the exact same reason. I think offensively they're doing enough that they can probably put up some points against this Jets defense. But it will be interesting to see how that Jets defense handles them. So, but yeah, I just think that the Jets offense is going to put them in bad spots too many times. In a game in which there really are no winners, the Cardinals at the Broncos.
I'm going to go Cardinals strictly on the fact that outside of both of them playing their backup quarterbacks, I feel like the Cardinals have a dominant receiver that should eat in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the Broncos are pretty much giving up on the season. Yeah, that's pretty much my opinion, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cardinals on this one too. Both of these coaches are not really that good, but Kingsbury is still a little bit better than Hackett, so I'm going to go Cardinals. All right, so we have the New England Patriots bringing their defense and their inept offense to Vegas to play the Raiders, who have also an inept defense, and well, actually, they're just inept completely. So
I'm gonna go Vegas.
I'm gonna go New England. This is of course assuming the offense doesn't cost them the game, but all they have to do is stay within 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and they'll be fine. All right, we got the Titans at the Chargers. So 2 7-6 teams.
It's King Henry time, but the Chargers are whole for the first time in a long time. I'm gonna go Chargers. Herbert's gonna sling that rock. Williams and Allen, as well as Palmer, are gonna have good days in the air. Eckler's gonna get his. I'm gonna go Chargers.
Yeah, I think they're stacking that line of scrimmage. I think Khalil Mack's going to be able to cause some disruption in the passing game. And if they can't get King Henry going, Tennessee doesn't have a chance. On the other side of that, Justin Herbert's going to eat, so I'm going Chargers. Then we got the Bengals at the Bucks. I'm going Bengals. The Bucks are a hot mess right now.
Yeah, Bengals.
Then Sunday night, we got the Giants at the Commanders.
Oh man.
The battle for the 6th seed.
This is a hard one to pick. I'm gonna go Commanders because they have more weapons. Just the sheer amount of injuries the Giants have, I'm gonna have to pick against them. But I do like Daniel Jones. I do like Saquon, but I just don't feel like there's enough for them to be able to, get a win. They're gonna need to go out and find a wide receiver or two.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, one of these teams is trending downward, and one of these teams is trending upward. I'm going to go with the one that's trending upward. I'm going Commanders. And then, Monday night, we got the Rams at the Packers.
Packers.
Yeah, I'm going to go Packers, man. I think they've kind of found their footing a little bit. A little too late for them to do anything with it, but I'm going to go ahead and say they found their footing here a little bit.
I'm not only going to say the Packers win, I'm going to say the Packers whip that trick.
Okay.
And for those of you who get that reference, yeah.
So, Steve McCain says, Commanders, bro.
Commanders.
The next.
fan now. What is he doing?
So real quick, man. I know we're like right at time here, but real quick, you know what? We won't go into a lot of detail on these, but since we're not gonna be here next week, let's just go and pick the next set of games also.
Let's get it.
So Jags at Jets. I'm going Jets.
Jets, yeah.
Okay. That's a Thursday night game, by the way. Christmas Eve, we got Falcons at the Ravens.
Ravens, yep.
Got the Lions and the Panthers.
Lions, Tigers, and Bears. Oh my.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lions on that one. Speaking of Bears, Bills at Bears.
Definitely Bills.
Yeah, definitely Bills.
Definitely.
Saints at the Browns. If there was a game that Deshaun Watson could look back to being halfway decent, it would be this one. I'm going Browns.
Agreed.
We got the Seahawks at the Chiefs. This one's going to be a Christmas massacre. The Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Indubitably.
Yeah. Then we got the Giants at the Vikings.
I'm going to do it.
Do it.
Giants.
You know what, man? I'm feeling like Minnesota's already going to have their playoff spot clinched. I think they might ease up a little bit. I think this is one the Giants can steal away as well.
Giants.
Not because it's a better team, but I just think that, they can. All right, we got Bengals at the Patriots. Going Bengals.
Definitely Bengals.
Then we got the Texans at the Titans.
King here, we're going to have 250 yards. Titans.
Yeah, that was not even up for debate. One that I know you have a little personal interest in, the Commanders at the 49ers.
Whew. I think this was a 50-50. I know as a 49ers fan, you probably don't agree with that.
I don't.
But the Commanders are getting, they actually should have all of their defensive linemen back now. So they are going to have a monstrous rotation. Heineke is another quarterback just like Purdy. They're just two guys that the team rocks with. They get behind. They make the throws that they should. They don't blow it a lot. But I will say Heineke is a little bit more Brett Favre-ish than Purdy. So I think he'll probably make that one bad mistake that'll cost them. So I'm going to go 49ers in a tight game.
Oh, Steve McCain's going to be upset with you. He says, Commanders, bro, laugh out loud.
He's not going to be upset.
And,
he's not going to be upset at all.
And allow me to lead Corso you here. Not so fast. 49ers.
I mean, since I did say the 49ers, I mean, why you lead Corso in me, but...
No, I'm talking about Steve McCain, man.
No, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, real simple version of this one in my mind is I think that the 49ers defense is going to shut down the Commanders offense completely. I think the Commanders defense can give the 49ers offense a good fight. I don't expect to go out and hang 40 points on them. But with all the weapons the 49ers have, I think they managed to make a couple of plays in this game. Honestly, this might be one of the games where you only need like 14 to 17 points to win it anyways. So that's why I got the 49ers.
No,
it's all
40
about
burger, huh?
It's all about the defense. No, I don't think we're gonna put a 40 burger on. I think the defense too good for that.
Glad you clarified that, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Then we got the Eagles at the Cowboys.
I'm gonna go Eagles. Dallas is not prepared for the storm that's going to be coming their way next week. Whole lot of talk, whole lot of things they want to say ahead of time. And I'm kind of like, talk all the talk you want ahead of time, bro. Say all you need to say now, because I'm going to tell you a very secretive thing. All your talking, all your game planning, all your bravado, all your you're this, you're that, we beat you with your backup. When you get shut down with Rain Dakota Prescott playing, what do you have to say then? What do you have to say? Because that's what's going to happen. We're going to run the ball down your throat. Devontae Smith is going to hit 1,000 yards against you. And you know what else is going to happen? Our defense is going to disrespect your offense. Your one advantage will be your passes to Tony Pollard. Not going to be enough to win you the game. Michael Parsons is going to get played like he was last time. He's going to run in for those weak attempts at sacks. He's going to get blocked by superior linemen. He's going to throw the ball right where he would have been at if he had actually played in coverage, which he hardly ever does. Eagles.
So, Stephen McCain says Jalen Hurts will have a career night versus the Cowboys.
I would not be upset.
Listen.
I can smell another offensive player of the week. Let's go.
Listen, there's only one thing that I feel like is going to potentially help Dallas here. And that is if somehow the Philadelphia Eagles just fall asleep. Because if the Philadelphia Eagles show up, it's not going to happen. I think that you've beefed up your line. I think you can compete. I think you can, at least slow their run game down. I don't think you're going to shut it down, but I think you can at least slow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And look, the one thing I would say about both my team and yours is this. You don't want to get into a situation where we know you passing the ball. You do not want to put yourself in that position. So I think Dallas is going to find himself in that position, and it's going to be a problem. So I am picking the Eagles. That night, we got the Raiders at the Steelers.
The Raiders.
I'm going to Steelers.
Josh Jacobs. Field day. Session.
I'm actually going to Steel City on this one. I'm going Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah. Christmas Day. We got 3 games. We got the Packers at the Dolphins. I'm going to go
Tua Tagovailoa, the Cheetah, Jalen Waddle, Jeff Wilson Jr., Raheem Mostert. Need I go further? The Dolphins.
Yeah. Then we got the Broncos at the Rams.
The one game the Rams should be able to whoop some hind quarters, backsides in would be this one against the lowly Broncos. Defense good, offense way past subpar. Going with the Rams.
Then we got the Bucks at the Cardinals.
I might actually have to go Bucks in this one because the Cardinals are really bad too.
Yeah, me too. Then Monday night we get the Chargers at the Colts.
This is what you call a bunny game, right? This is a get right gimme. We got the Chargers winning the week before, going 8-6. Then you come in here, you get the 9-6. If you do not beat the Colts, heads should roll within the Chargers organization. Period.
I absolutely agree with you. And then finishing it up,
Behead them.
Thursday, December 29th, 1 week after losing to the Eagles, the Cowboys take on the Titans.
Here's the thing. Where's the Cowboys' weakness?
Run defense.
And what will Hilliard and the King be doing in that game?
Run, Forrest, run.
So I'm actually going to go with back-to-back L's for the Arlington football team, Titans.
I mean, listen, their run defense is a big enough concern, but after they lose again and they know for a fact that they can't win the division, I think they're going to be distraught.
Distraught?
The Philadelphia Eagles are going to clinch the NFC East by virtue of the Dallas Cowboys losing on Thursday Night Football.
We actually should clinch it once we whoop those tricks on Christmas Eve.
Will that actually clinch it?
That should clinch it for us because that would put them.
Oh yeah, because there'll only be 2 games after that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Acknowledge us.
Well, then that's not as fun, but I'm still picking Dallas to lose.
It's always fun, man. It's always fun.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, that's it, man. We do need to bounce up off here because we will be back in like 20 minutes with the NFL matchup madness. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just come right back here to the channel.
You already know.
Just click on a different show. NFL matchup madness.
You already know. And shout out to the UNC, University of North Carolina Chapel Hill Tar Heels, for actually getting their heads out of their hind parts and starting to win games.
Oh, yeah?
Because the way you were going to stay outside the top 25 and be trash. So the fact that you're finally getting it together, kudos to you, gentlemen.
Steve McCain said, great show, guys. Appreciate that.
Appreciate that, Mr. McCain.
But since we're giving shout outs, I'll give a shout out to my Florida State Seminoles also for doubling their win total by winning their second game of the season.
Hey, man, you take the wins where you can, literally.
All right, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, whether you're catching us live or on the replay.
Matchup madness.
Much love.
9
See
p.m.
y'all. See y'all in
EST.
about 15 minutes.
I'm even do an outfit switch for the show. Let's go.
I'm gonna be in this right here. You're gonna see me in this exact thing in like 15
Let's go.
minutes. Allah.